Oklahoma City Thunder select Chet Holmgren from Gonzaga University.
What a pass. Giddy underneath for JRE. The reverse and the rookie-to-rookie action. SGA defended closely by Westbrook. Tough. Step back. Gets up the shot. Banks it in for the lead.
This is Udart. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, and welcome to the Uncontested Podcast post-game edition. Feels so good to say that after 3 months. I know it's only been 3 months. I'm your host for the evening, Jacob Niffen. Back at it again, like peanut butter and jelly, the two-man game. I've got Nick Crane with me.
This time last year, like to the day, probably, we were talking about Chet Holmgren's debut, and now it's Chet Holmgren's
re-debut,
if that's a word, or return would probably be the easier thing to say.
I love it. We are here with our post-game podcast after the Thunder beat the Utah Jazz in Summer League in their first game out in Salt Lake City, 95-85. We are brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network and dailythunder.com. Quick programming note before we get started. The Thunder play again Wednesday night, July 5th at 6 p.m. Central Time. Taylor and JD will be on the post game for that one with you. And then Thursday, the Thunder play the 76ers. Late that evening, Justin, Taylor, myself, and maybe Nick, if his flight gets in on time, will be live from Las Vegas, breaking down Salt Lake City Summer League and previewing Las Vegas. We will then have another post game for you Saturday after the Thunder take on the Dallas Mavericks for their first game in Vegas. And do not forget that next Sunday, no 9 p.m. stream. Instead, it will be a morning stream live from the Blue Wire studio at the Wynn Hotel and Resort on the Strip in Las Vegas. We've got you guys covered for Summer League. Nick and I actually talking a lot today about all the content we will get for you guys while we're out in Vegas. It's going to be awesome. But you don't care about that. You care about Chet Holmgren playing basketball for the first time in like 11 months. About J-Dub being way too damn good for Summer League. About Tre Mann catching a body. Nick, just in general, your big takeaway when this game is over and you get on this podcast and you get in front of the microphone, the first thing that comes to your mind about what we just watched is
Jalen Williams looks like a 4-time All-Star just decided it'd be kind of funny to go play Summer League with a bunch of young guys and just absolutely look like he does not belong in a good way. Like, if it was me, I understand there's some value in playing, I wouldn't even call it low-level basketball because it's still high-level basketball. Playing in these types of situations where you can do a bit more to like try out new moves and see if what you worked on translates to the game. But if we got a notification tomorrow that said Jalen Williams is done with Summer League, I'd probably say good, as he should be.
like 3 minutes in, I had already told myself, like, he's too
Get the first
good.
9 points.
He's too
effortlessly.
Good. Yeah, like the first one was a layup that was just like pedestrian. Then he had the pull-up three. That's the thing that he kind of got going to today, Nick, was the pull-up three, which I thought was really fun and something that I think he's working on. His stat line tonight for J-Dub, 21 points in 21 minutes, 8 of 14 from the field, 3 of 5 from three. I love 5 threes in 21 minutes for Dub. Absolutely love that.
Yeah.
4 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block. After he saw Tre Mann get a dunk, he went for one himself and back rimmed it and ricocheted it up into the air. But you said it. It was that moment where you were just like, he's ascended past this level of basketball.
Yeah.
Like there were other good guys on the court tonight. Like for Utah, I thought Ochai Agbaji looked really good tonight. Mm-hmm. Just nowhere close to what J-Dub was doing.
No. And if J-Dub can be a really good 3-point shooter, on top of the fact that he's already like a elite, not just among young guys, like elite finisher at the rim among all players, all positions. Like he finished at the rim better than a lot of centers did last year. Like good centers did last year. If he gets a 3-point shot going, how do you guard that? And then also, like no one's going to talk about this, the defensive side of the ball. As good as Agbaji looked, J-Dub was like locking him down some possessions.
Yeah.
Like man on ball, not like this off ball. Like it was on ball defense, point of attack. Like I'm not letting you drive by me, moving his feet, using his length. It was incredible.
Yeah. I mean, you go back to last season, every time coach talked about J-Dub, it was about the potential and the upside on the defensive end, and now he's doing this stuff on offense. You mentioned he's already got the elite finishing. He is so physical. Like he can blow by you. And if you're in front of him, he can just bully his way to the rim. Nick, we texted about it. I don't know if it's the fact that the big hair is gone and he had the braids going tonight. And so smaller hair, like in proportion, makes his body look bigger. He's obviously put on some strength, put on some muscle. He looked jacked.
He's always been jacked.
He looked like more jacked though.
Mm-hmm.
Like not
for sure.
Like not post-career juiced Mike Bibby jacked, but he looked big.
Yeah. I mean, looking back, what he did last year, finishing at the rim and like getting to the rim, bodying people, he's always been strong. But yeah, he clearly has put on. I know the topic of convo on Twitter has been like 23 pounds because his summer league online number was 195 pounds last year. He was 210 at the combine. He's not gained 23 pounds, but he's probably gained a good 5 to 8 pounds of solid muscle mass. Mm-hmm. And for a guy that was already pretty physical, very significant. He
was absolutely awesome. You mentioned some of the defense. There were just some plays that stuck out to me where I think he was guarding Agbaji, but he like tried to go around him. And then you would just see this like appendage go way farther than it should and like poke the ball out. His length. I'm starting to become more and more of a believer that length and wingspan is more important than just height. His length is absurd, dude. Like,
yeah, he's a guy that we.
You good?
Threw the mic out there. He's a guy that I think we probably think he looks 6'8", 6'9", because he's so long.
Mm-hmm.
But he's only like 6'5", 6'6". But he's got that 7'2", 7'3" wingspan. So it's
he's got the same wingspan as guys like Taylor Hendricks.
Yeah.
And Taylor
bigger
Hendricks
than Taylor Hendricks. Taylor Hendricks is like 6 or 7'1". Like he's longer than Taylor Hendricks. So to your point, like I do think wingspan and length matter just as much as height. I don't know if I'd say like more than height. It's like a equation kind of thing, but it does matter because your ability to be versatile at a time when the NBA is all about versatility kind of depends on either height or length combined with the skill set that you have. So
definitely. Love J-Dub. People know how much we love J-Dub. Let's move on though, because even though like J-Dub could have 50 tonight if you wanted to, the story of the night goes to the former number 2 overall pick who didn't get to play last year. Chet Holmgren makes his return. We talked about adding weight, Nick. Chet put on 13 pounds.
Wow. 208.
And if you will believe the Facebook comments on ESPN, because there's nothing I enjoy more than reading Facebook comments, people say you can do that in 2 weeks with a little bit of Brahms and some Sonic. So, I mean, I don't think they're wrong. Rough start for Chet.
Yeah,
the first quarter, I was like, looking a little rusty. But after the rust, after the getting the second wind, got to realize like he hasn't played organized basketball in 11 months. after all of that, we move into the second quarter, Nick, and what do you see?
It's like he got over the initial overcompensation is probably what it was. Like, given the competitive nature of Chet Holmgren, where to us, like before the game, we were texting about this. It was like, the dude's going to be rusty. It's been a year. Like, he has been shooting and doing a bunch of stuff more recently. But he hadn't played like legit 5-on-5 on court. There was going to be some rust. That's our external view. To Chet, I guarantee you, if you had his number, text him before the game and said, think he'll be a little bit rusty, he would have said, no, I'm going out there. I'm going at their throats. First 2 minutes, I'm back. Like, that's just his internal competitive nature, the dog in him. And I think to his detriment a little bit, I wouldn't even call it detriment, he overcompensated and he wanted to go out there and prove that he was back. And that's hard to do after a year. And I think once he got over that initial hump, you saw like the turnover where he dropped the ball out of bounds, and there was a couple of like, he kind of flicked the ball up and it was a little bit short. Once he got over that first hump, it was actually once he sat for the first time. He sat down on the bench, got to like catch his breath, go back out there, and it was like a different player. And so of course, it's easy to say like discount the bad part, but like that first stretch of 6-7 minutes where he went 1 for 5, like throw that in the trash can. That is not Chet. That version of Chet is over. Like, he is now officially back, and we saw that from quarter 2 on.
Quarter 2 was such a blast, man.
It was nuts. It was like in 4 minutes, he changed the whole game.
I had so much fun watching him those first, like that second quarter. It was 2 things I want to talk specifically about Chet. 4 blocks in like under 30 minutes is just an absurd rate.
Yep.
The thing is, Nick, it's not just the blocks.
Right.
Like, Sam Vecini has talked a lot about this. His defensive IQ and his anticipation, he got Keontae George twice in the third quarter. The second one was effing disgusting. Mm-hmm. Like, blocked it 2-armed with like his elbows. But the first one that was on the left side of the court, Keontae beat Tre on the left. If you watch the replay, Chet is up high on the opposite side of the lane at the free throw line whenever Keontae starts that move, and Chet meets him on the opposite side of the rim above the peak and gets him. Like, the anticipation is unreal, and he might not block everything, but when you watch him on defense when he is out there, he is always at the rim. Like, there were multiple possessions tonight in that third quarter after that big block where Jazz guys would drive in and where they would typically like lean in and try to get a shot up, try to get a layup up. They're dishing it back off. It's Serge Ibaka-esque, like peak Serge Ibaka-esque, where like it's like a mind game. Mm-hmm. Like, you're protecting the rim so well that guys are afraid to put it up because they don't want it to get blocked. And at that point, you have won. Mm-hmm. You have won the battle. If you are forcing guys to get in the lane and not shoot the basketball, like, in my opinion, that is better than a block.
Yeah. I mean, if you've ever played basketball in your entire life, there has been a game in which the team you're playing has this massive dude. And it's very different when you're at elementary school or middle school or even high school, or because Chet not only is massive, but also is extremely skilled. But if you've played basketball growing up, there's been a game or probably multiple games where when you drive to the rim, most games you would like float it up over a guy or make a move or your go-to kind of step back jump, whatever it is. But when you have this guy that's just a massive rim protector, it changes the way you process the game as you're getting to the rim. And like you mentioned, it's like, it's either a bad shot or you don't shoot, which is better. You're forced to kick it out. And like that was the turning point in the game. Like when Chet started, like we've got to come up with some kind of phrase or t-shirt or something about volleyball because these two-handed blocks are ridiculous. Like it looks like he's spiking over the net. But when he does that once or twice, the entire team is like, oh crap. Like we have to change the way we're attacking the rim. And when that happened tonight, after that first big block, we saw this, like the Jazz went 2 of 16 over that stretch in the second quarter because of Chet. And so while the box score, if you didn't watch the game, you go look at Chet's box score, 4 blocks seems really good. But I'd argue like his impact on the game was the most significant on the things that didn't show up on the box score in terms of just like putting a bubble around the rim where if you're going to come in here, you're not going to get anything easy. You're going to have to either take a bad shot or kick it out.
It's awesome. I think also like his pick and roll defense, he's typically like a hedge and recover type of guy or like a drop guy, but he just covers so much space. There were plays where like they were trying to throw an alley-oop and Chet would just like intercept the pass. The length just changes the geometry of the basketball court. It's incredible.
There was a lot of plays where like watching the Thunder and breaking down the Thunder for so many years now, we haven't had the chance to cover a guy like this. Like it's been Steven Adams and it's been these weird undersized centers for the last few years. There was some plays where there'd be like a dribble handoff on the wing and Chet's guy would be the receiver of the ball. And Chet would sag like 12, 15 feet from the rim and his guy was at the 3-point line with the ball. And I'm like, dude, like, you might want to scoot up a little bit. Then you start to realize his ability to like recover and close out and he uses length on a 3. He doesn't have to be like in your grill on the perimeter. He can play back, which clogs passing, like the geometry thing mentioned, clogs passing lanes, can't throw over him. He's got more mobility in what he can do. And if you do decide to shoot, he's still long enough that even though he's 6 feet from you, he can quickly recover and contest it.
Yeah.
Like it's something we haven't seen in Oklahoma City ever.
Yeah.
Like, ever.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to sound dumb. Like the closest thing is Poku, right? Did you hear me, Nick?
Say it again.
The closest thing is Poku.
Yes, but to a different degree.
And that's like the whole point I'm trying to make. Right.
Yeah. We have not had this in Oklahoma City.
Flip side of the coin. First, Chet's line tonight. 13 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 blocks in 29 minutes. He was a plus 13. Chet only took 1 3, which I was kind of surprised at.
Yeah.
Because he didn't play inside very much. He was like catching on the perimeter and attacking the basket. But Nick, one thing stuck out to me very vividly tonight with Chet on offense. And that's on a pick and pop or on a driving kick, Chet would catch at the 3-point line. And he's got a really nice ball fake that sent guys flying multiple times. He would ball fake and a dribble or two, and he is in the paint at the rim trying to finish. And he had a missed layup. He had a dunk that went in and out.
Yeah.
Like you get those 2 plays to just go in the basket. Instead of 13 points, he's at 17 points on 8 of 14.
We had 15, so he'd have been at 19 on 8 of 14 shooting instead of 6 of 4. I mean,
15.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was looking at his plus minus.
Yeah.
Totally. Right.
Yeah.
Like it's just a few things here and there. I thought the catch and attack off the kick out, show the ball and go. I really liked what I saw with that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the next progression, which I think he's going to be able to do easily, that's going to be Josh Giddey driving and kicking to him. And then he catches and he takes a dribble and attacks the closeout. And then he swings it to the next corner, which is a wide open J-Dub or a wide open Shea or a wide open Mitchich or a wide open Isaiah Joe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, then that thing really gets moving. There was multiple instances tonight where the vision was just like there in front of you. The style of ball movement was insane. Just guys playing connected in a rhythm basketball, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of going with the flow, just vibing off each other. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah. Before we move on to probably a couple more guys we want to talk about, I just want to put this out there because I feel like it's something that anybody that watches the Thunder regularly probably had the feeling of. Chet coming off of injury, it's like every time he caught the ball and drove, like last year it was like this exciting, like, oh, Chet's dribbling and spinning and fading. This year it was like, oh, Chet's dribbling and spinning and fading, don't get hurt. You know what I mean? It was just like a different, it was almost like an anxious, oh crap, he's doing this, versus like last year it was, oh, he's got mobility. I know this is ignorant to say, because injuries happen to every player at any time. It doesn't matter. But just getting through one game where he wasn't like avoiding contact. He was like jumping in, trying to get rebounds and driving the lane and flailing on the floor and, you know, throwing his, but it was not one of those situations where maybe a little bit early, but big picture, he wasn't favoring the wrong foot or avoiding contact. So that was one positive. But from a mental standpoint, now that we've gotten through one game, like it feels like we've seen him play now, and there's not as much. I think for the next 18 months, there's going to be that small fear in the back of your head that he's going to get hurt maybe. But now that we're through one game, like, do you personally feel like we've crossed a milestone where you can start to enjoy it a bit more moving forward?
Definitely, you know, and the injury was just such a freak accident, you know, and he's never been injured like that before. Like, you think we have that thought in the back of our mind? Like, imagine how he feels, you know. But I mean, I had
my point. He didn't shy away from anything.
Yeah, but you know that's still in his mind though. Like it's going to be a mental thing for him.
I think
he's
built different.
He is, dude.
I like you're totally right. You don't go through a year away from basketball without having it in the back of your head. But for like you and I to come back from that would be really hard. And I'm not saying it's not hard for Chet, but like that dude is wired differently. Like
he was talking tonight. He was letting some people hear it. Like,
and you listen to every national person that talks about Chet or anyone that's covered Chet for his entire life. They don't talk about the fact that he's 7'1", or the fact that he's so skilled, or the fact that he can shoot threes. Every one of them talks about like he's going at you. He's a dog. He's a competitor. That is the mental wiring that is going to make him great.
You know what we call that on this podcast, Nick?
What do we call it?
He got that dog in him.
Yep.
Dude, I texted you tonight. There is a chance. I think we said this on last night's show. The official Kason signing will happen on the 6th. Probably in the morning. The NBA offices probably have like a queue of all these transactions that got to go through.
Yep.
I want to see him and Kason on the court guarding pick and rolls together. I think that would just be disgusting. They're just going to muck everything up. We don't want to make this pod too long, so we're going to choose one more guy to talk about. Then we're going to take questions from the chat, Nick. And my choice for who we're going to talk about next is Tre Mann.
Okay, let's do it.
Real quick, stat line. Tre had 20 points on 7 of 15 shooting. He was 4 of 8 from 3. 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, a block, and 4 turnovers. And an absolute... Tre just has these moments. You're good for like 1 a season. The first year, rookie year, it was against the Lakers. Last year, he had 2, actually. He had the last game of the season.
Yeah.
And he had 1... I can't remember who it was against. I just remember J-Dub losing. I think so. I just remember J-Dub losing his mind.
Yeah.
And then he had tonight where he just detonates. I mean, he pulls that thing back with like bad intention. What did you think of Tre's game tonight?
stats aside, box score aside, the confidence that we saw from start to finish is super promising, because I think for a guy that is probably down after the year that he had and the role that he had last season. And again, it's like when you're a third-year player coming into Summer League, you probably do feel like that guy. Like you're probably going in there like, oh, I can dominate these guys. Like you should be confident. But to see it like translate on the floor, if only we could get that version of Tre, and it's a hard mindset to have. Summer League, I'm going to be that guy versus NBA when you're going up against, Devin Booker instead of Keontae George. Like it's very different. But if he can carry some momentum into the season and say, I'm that guy, like when I come off the bench, I'm going to score on you. I don't care who you are. We see the flashes. Like we've seen it rookie year when he was out there with the nobodies because everyone was hurt and they were tanking. Like he can do it. And so to see the confidence, like even if the shots wouldn't have fallen, which we've seen in summer leagues of the past, the confidence he played with and the swagger, that's what matters to me.
Definitely. We said it on this podcast last night. Summer League isn't going to make or break him, but it is a data point. And you want to stack good data points right now. You want to build momentum. I thought he started doing that tonight. The confidence, the jump shot was there. I thought maybe there were times where he danced with it a little too much.
That's his game,
wasn't really getting off it and moving, and not really fitting. Kind of stuck out at times. That definitely is his game. I thought him going against Keontae George was kind of like, not ironic, but it just fit because they're kind of the same style of basketball player, Yeah. But I thought he had some really nice moves to the basket, which I think he's always kind of had. He's been kind of an underrated finisher. We know him for his 3-point shooting. The handle looks tighter. He had not as many like break and pullbacks and these like crazy shin angles, but shifty side to side, making guys kind of stumble up a little bit. I mean, at the end of the day, I think he's going to be a bench gunner, and I think they're going to take all these guys to training camp, and they're going to let whoever rises to the top rise to the top. If you want to compare him to like a Patty Mills, who's now on this team, like my thought, I was texting with somebody tonight. My thought is like they have a lot more invested in Tre Mann, and at some point, I think like the sunk cost fallacy comes in. Like Patty Mills, you just absorbed a expiring contract into cap space for assets. But Tre Mann, like you spent a top 20 pick on him. You've invested time, effort, money, NBA reps, G League reps, Summer League reps. Like they have a lot invested in this kid who's still under contract for 2 more years. I think at the end of the day, Tre wins out and like makes the roster. But he does have to start. So. Yeah, he does have to start stacking because Presti has told us it's do or die time.
Yeah,
you've got to show out, and so it's like they're going to take guys into training camp and they're going to let the best guys make it through, and it's going to be a competition. And I think that is good for Tre. I think it's a good start for him tonight. A lot of summer league left to go.
Yeah,
for him though.
Yeah, I think. It's really easy to be short-sighted, and if hypothetically training camp, the last roster spot was between Tre Mann and Patty Mills. Patty Mills would probably help the team more this season, but you have to remember they don't have the expectation to win it all this year. Like it's still the rebuild. Presti's made that very clear. Like there's still more moves to be made. Like I think the fan base, a chunk of the fan base is like, this is the year that you like move into that. You're going to get the 4, 5, 6 seed. You're going to be, maybe that happens as a byproduct. But I think in the front office's mind, this is still year 3 of 5 before you're really the consistent playoff team. And so if it did come down to Tre and Patty, although I think nobody would argue Patty Mills is still a fantastic player at almost 35 years old that would help this team regular season and playoffs when healthy. I think that the front office is still thinking the 3-year window, not the 1-year window, which is the right way to think about it.
Definitely. Nick, before we get out of here, I think we are obliged to hit some of these comments and these questions in the chat.
Yep.
So we'll burn through some real quick. Alex
should have been favoriting along the way because there's like 400 of them in here.
Yeah, I know. I need to start using that feature. Bunch of people high on the Tre Mann dunk. People making Jorts comments again. This is why you need to be part of the live stream, folks.
Yes.
Let's see here. Alex says Dub was like men versus boys. I almost made that comparison on the Twitter account tonight. Blueface Baby says Chet was doing okay, hope for better, but he still made an impact. I think that's the big takeaway for me is like he wasn't great.
Yeah.
But his impact was still pretty massive.
That's what's going to be so interesting about Chet this season in terms of like Rookie of the Year race and all NBA teams. There will be people on Twitter that say Chet only averages, there's some numbers, 13.2 points, 7.2 rebounds, and 2.5 assists. Whereas this center over here averages better. I think when you look at blocks and defensive statistics, it's not going to matter anyways because he's going to average 2.5 blocks a game. But his impact, he's just one of those special guys. And I think that's the kind of player the Thunder like is we don't care about your points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, this rating, that rating. It's like there's a lot of things that cannot be measured. And that's the guys that they're acquiring. And that is what Chet is.
100%. It's like Chet to a T.
Yeah.
Sean says, what did Holly Rose say to Jay Will? I missed it. Did you catch this, Nick?
Yeah. She said, I didn't catch this during the actual game, but she said, we've crowned you the Jalen Williams to J-Dub. And then she turned to Jay Will and said, no offense. He's the Jalen Williams. And Jay Will laughed, of course, because he's not going to get offended by anything. But Holly
well,
Rowe
he and Chet kind of side-eyed each other, too.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he and Chet were like hugging, walking off the court. The bromance is real.
Chet is like the ultimate team guy. Like, I think the funniest thing about Chet is that he is going to be the villain everywhere. Like, Dylan Brooks is a guy that every team hates besides the team that has him. Draymond's kind of the same way. Dylan Brooks is different because Chet's actually going to be good, but Chet's going to be that guy. Like, he's going to be the guy that every other fan base freaking hates because at some point
Utah fans were chanting overrated to him in a summer league game tonight.
But over the next 2 seasons, at some point, you'll be watching your favorite team and Chet will do something that pisses you off, or Chet will jaw off to your favorite player and you will dislike Chet. And I guarantee you, by the time Chet's in his 3rd or 4th year, every fan base will dislike Chet, although he is freaking incredible.
Totally agree. Meek says, I'm not sure how to express it. J-Dub just clearly has a star NBA player look about him. He's such a kid, but he also just carries himself with so much confidence.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think there's like, remove the Kawhi Leonards of the world that are just like these oddball superstars that don't have this trait. But if you look at most stars in the league, it's like NBA All-Star Weekend comes around, cameras are on them, and they're just like swagged out. I'm that guy, super funny to be around, high kick, big personalities. That's just how superstars are in the modern sports world. Like, I don't care what sport it is. And J-Dub is that. Like, you see him after the game, after the initial interview with Holly Rowe, he goes over and sits down and puts the headset on to talk to whoever's next. And you can just tell he's sitting there like, I'm that guy who's interviewing me next.
Yep. He's incredible, man.
Yeah.
Lots of people in the comments down on Oos. I think Jared Percival with some good perspective here. Oos is still a project. Don't stress. Oos looked a little rough tonight. I did like that. I felt like driving to the basket, he was a little more physical. He went for a dunk, got fouled, but I like that he was aggressive and didn't like try to float it or anything like that. He's still like 19, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like it's going to be a process for the kid.
Yeah, it's all processing the game. It's like not only is he young, the season before he came to the league, he did the whole NBL thing, but it was an NBL season that was derailed by COVID where he didn't actually play in the city that he signed a contract with. They had to like relocate and live in a hotel and play somewhere else. Like his game reps, we like to talk about age when it comes to prospects, but I think probably the better measure is like experience. Like you're 21, but you've played X number of college seasons or X number of NBA seasons. Like Oos hurt a lot last year. NBL season was derailed. You're also one of the youngest guys in the league, despite being a second-year player. Like his reps, if you compare them to everybody, he's kind of like a rookie again. Like honestly.
Next one, Adam asking, did J-Dub get thick with 2 C's for more run at the 4?
I mean, I think getting thick's going to help him at all positions, not just the 4. That's just me though. Like 1 through 4, being thick helps, especially if he can keep the speed that he has.
They played him at 5 last year at times. Adam H says Chet blocks are basically outlet passes. We're going to run so much this year. Can you imagine a Chet 2-handed block and it lands in Giddey's hands? It's a layup. It's a layup a second and a half later.
We didn't hear it as much last year, but 2 seasons ago, Mark's 2 favorite words, Mark Daignault, were space and pace. Thunder played with a lot of pace last year. Didn't have a ton of space. They didn't have a bunch of shooters. This year they do. Chet being one of them. Space and pace wins games in the NBA.
100%. Fade away, I think, asking about Oos here. Is he a jack of all trades, master of none?
Neither, and that's not the answer you want to hear. I think Oos has the upside to be one of those guys that is like the 6'10", 6'11", do it all wing. I think there's also a world where Oos never works out. Like we talked about, he can't process the game. He's a little slow on his feet. Maybe he never gets there. Like those are 2 things that are not guaranteed. Like for some guys that you just never catch up to the game. But I think the more realistic outcome for him is he ends up being a guy that either is a outstanding defender or he is a really good 3-point shooter for his size, and then kind of add some things here and there. But I don't think he'll be a do it all guy in the long run.
For sure. I had another one. Where did it just go? 12 count talking about your comments on the Chet blocks. He says, if he volleyball spiked everyone on my layup attempts, I'd hate him too.
Yes.
I think I agree.
I saw Brandon Pajemski in the background on my TV for the first time in a Warriors jersey, and I was like tripped out for a second. That's the weirdest part of Summer League is seeing these guys in their jerseys for the first time, and you're like, whoa, that's a weird thing. But on the volleyball spikes, yes, like that's to my point. Your favorite player is going to get blocked by Chet at some point. He's going to get in his face and jaw at him. And yes, you're going to hate Chet if you're not a fan of the
Thunder. Matt Noonan said Mitchich courtside. Yeah, Mitchich and Jack White both courtside tonight, which I thought was pretty cool. I saw there's way too many comments. I can't scroll up and find it. But 2 more things. There's a lot of comments about the Jazz commentators. It was Jazz Summer League, so it's the Jazz play-by-play guys. And they were very Jazz biased. Like it was very clear. That's fine.
Yep.
They lost, so it's okay.
Yep.
Our buddy Carey in attendance tonight at the game.
Carey
said he watched a grown 30-plus-year-old man go up to Dub and had a Dub jersey on and took it off for Dub to sign it and was just standing shirtless in the arena, which is incredible.
That is awesome.
Absolutely incredible. Nick, any parting thoughts on Summer League Game 1, which the Oklahoma City Thunder won 95-85 against Utah Jazz?
Only parting thought is they played 9 guys on a 17-man roster. So I don't know if that means like they play the 5th and the 6th back-to-back. I wouldn't expect Chet to play both. I don't know if I expect J-Dub to play both. Hope everybody enjoyed tonight, because the rest of Salt Lake City may be less fun, but they'll be back at it the first 2 games of Vegas, because that is where the real action happens, and we will
They'll
be
have
there
Case on then,
covering
too.
for you guys live.
It's going to be incredible.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into the Uncontested, jumping on with us for the live stream after the Thunder win their first Summer League game. Taylor and JD will be back with you guys Wednesday night. And then Taylor, Justin, Nick, and myself will all be with you Thursday night live on the Strip in Las Vegas. We will talk to you guys soon. And if you are in the States, enjoy your 4th of July. Stay safe. Don't blow your fingers off. If you're international, have a great Tuesday. We'll see you guys again Wednesday. Until then, as always, Thunder up.